Hi everyone, L1ve2Win here to bring you a podcast that I did off stream with a friend of mine by the name of Delsin Rowe832. We ended up doing a podcast and there were so many bugs and issues, and you are going to be seeing that. Basically, I did this completely off stream. I was having my own things going on. I was setting up a PC, and I believe at the time we did this podcast, I was still putting my streaming PC together. I think I got most of it done. It was just down to OBS at that point. We just had so many issues when making this podcast. It was just a whole bunch of stuff. Audio cutting in and out, mics cutting in and out. There was an individual by the name of Froggy Daddy23, and he completely disconnected from the call entirely. So even though that we had him on, it was Delsin's friend, and we just had to continue on without him. It took us probably like about 2 hours in order to fix all of our issues and to finally get a particular podcast together. And I believe there's somewhere around almost 3 hours of content. So we basically did like 5 hours, but out of the 5, only 3 hours was worth doing. So anyway, there was just a whole bunch of problems and issues. As much of the problems and issues that we ran into, overall, this was enjoyable. I liked it, and I hope to do it again, but we'll see what happens. And yeah, I want to appreciate everyone who decided to watch this particular podcast, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hello, everyone. Delsin here from the Delsin Rowe channel, and welcome to Delsin4theWin Podcast. Now, we've tried to do this over 3 times now, and it is terrible. I am now here with L1ve2Win.
I am L1ve2Win. This is just... Let's just hope to God we can get through this.
I know, right? We have redone this over 3, maybe 2 times. So, what are we going to do first?
I don't know. Apparently, whatever.
I guess since Froggy Daddy's no longer going to be joining us, we should probably, answer the questions that for us.
Sure.
All right. So I have 5 questions for you, which I'm pretty sure you already read.
I believe so.
All right. So, what do you use to cope when you're uncomfortable?
On stream, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So basically, when I'm uncomfortable, it is very difficult because I'm someone that doesn't really like basically dead air. So I always just keep talking, and it makes things even more difficult because basically every time I speak, essentially you can see my cards to some degree, and it's really something you just kind of have to learn just over time. That's not something that's going to be you're not going to get down immediately. So for me in particular, I really don't really have any technique or anything in particular. It's just basically I brute force a lot of stuff, and that's just one area that I just kind of brute force. So I try my best to not show my cards, so to speak, but I just try and do my best, essentially.
All right. Do you want to take turns answering questions to each other?
Well, to be fair, I wasn't sure exactly how this was all going to go down, so I actually don't have any questions, but I suppose I could probably. I believe there were some questions that John had, and I assume
Oh yeah.
I assume we could just go with those. But Mhm.
Yes, we have 5 questions here that he wanted to ask us. So I guess we can answer those.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one right here. How long have you known each other? We have known each other since June 30th, 2020. And this is for both of us, just so you know.
Right.
And he wanted to ask us how long we known each other because of, you know,
Mm-hmm.
he was wondering who you were at first, and I said you were just a friend that I met on YouTube and everything. And I came into his streams. We were just talking, hanging out, and I had problems with my Persona game, and I went to you for questioning to help me with that.
Right.
Do you have any answer to that?
No, that was pretty straightforward. And for the record, for those that don't know, we kind of already did answer this question, but we had technical issues, so we're this is essentially our take 2, so to speak. But yeah, yeah, I saw Delsin come in. I was probably in my first dungeon because I grinded hard in that one, and I had my own issues. I was crashing immediately, and essentially I figured, well, I should probably help someone out because they probably have issues kind of similar to me. So I figured I'll help out, and we managed to eventually fix Delsin's issue. I just needed some few bits of information on his end, and luckily we're able to clear it up. So it worked out good in the end.
Yeah, actually, it worked out pretty good. Actually, the game was working for a while, but then my computer sucked and it kept crashing. So I'm using the Vita to play Persona 4 Golden now. So
I actually don't think I heard about that part.
Oh, don't you remember? I told you to go to my playlist on your stream.
Is that what that was? I didn't know what I was supposed to be looking for. Okay. Now that makes sense. Now that makes sense. Okay.
All right. You want to hear the other question that he had for us?
Sure.
Whoa.
Everything okay?
I must have not write this right because I can't even read my own handwriting. I'm on to where he actually typed that out. Is there something wrong with my voice?
No. Everything seems good.
Hold on, I'm pulling up those questions. What got you all into YouTube?
I guess
that is what he asked.
Okay.
I got into YouTube probably back into 2014. That's when I first created the channel, and when I started watching Markiplier a lot, and I wanted to do YouTube because of what I saw, and so my first video was uploaded. It was my nephew actually singing and dancing to one of his favorite songs. So that was my first YouTube video. what about you? What got you into YouTube, Liv?
Well, I got into YouTube. My first stream was on April 1st, 2017, and basically what happened is there was a mod for a game I was trying to figure out. I wasn't getting it properly, and then I came across a channel by the name of B33 Croft for Payday 2, which was the game I was playing. And yeah, it was a big lobbies mod, and it was like to increase the player base from I think only 4 players to a total of like 16. I think since then it's increased. And I thought that would be kind of interesting and unique, and I was just trying to get this mod to work. It wasn't working, and when one day I happened to notice that B. Croft was streaming, and I saw his channel, saw the people that he was with, and I just thought it was really interesting, and I figured I'll try and see about getting a smaller version of like what he has, and it just kind of started from there, and I almost kind of saw it as a joke, which is why I actually went with October 1st, or excuse me, April 1st as when I got into it. So, but I really enjoyed it and just kept doing it ever since. And yeah, just kind of really enjoy streaming.
All right, and the third thing he wanted to ask us was, tell us some things about you. And this is for both of us.
Okay.
Tell us some things about you. So, as you all can tell, we're YouTubers. We do what we want. We either live stream playing our games that we want to play, or just having a good time on YouTube. And I've been having a blast recording and live streaming lately, and I am glad to be doing YouTube. It's fun. I love it. What about you, Liv?
Things about me. Really, I just like to play the games that I do. It's the whole reason why I kind of got into streaming. Is I never thought about like growing my channel. More so, I just wanted to like kind of share some of my experiences, and there has been some very interesting experiences, but I do believe that's probably a whole nother story for another day maybe. But yeah, but all the people I met through Twitch and YouTube, it's been incredible, and I'm so glad I took this journey, and it seems like it's still going, because I wouldn't be here doing this podcast if I didn't meet these interesting people. So, yeah.
And the fourth thing he asked, describe your channel. So, our channels are gaming channels, obviously. We do gaming. Liv, why don't you start off with this question?
Sure. Yeah, so basically, I always just play whatever game that interests me. And my first game I started playing was Payday 2, because I saw B. Croft do it, and I just kind of learned from the best, so to speak. And it's a co-op game, and you basically just do heists, you rob banks, essentially, and it's kind of like horde mode, and you have like a whole bunch of cops trying to attack you and all that stuff, and you have you fight them off, and it's really interesting if you're into that. But I have since been able to grow since then by having a better PC, and because of that, I can now play some of the games that I probably couldn't do, because I was on what I would call a BS laptop. It's not the greatest laptop. It's now reduced to reading chat now for my streams as of recent. And yeah, I play whatever games I'm into, and lately it's kind of been more of Yakuza and Persona, and yeah, just kind of like I'm kind of always more interested in like story based games because they always intrigue me and have a lot more interest there. It is fun to play with friends, but you can't really get a single player experience when you're in a essentially a multiplayer. But yeah, I'm all over the place with games, and I'm so glad I've taken a chance on some of the games I did. So.
Wow. Well, honestly, my channel is basically gaming, vlogs, and maybe podcasts. That is a big if. If this works out, we might continue it. That is what this is. We're testing it out, right, Liv?
Right.
And so the last question that he wanted to ask for both of us: do you like Call of Duty? Now, I love Call of Duty. My favorite game was Call of Duty Black Ops 2. That was my favorite game out of all of them. I loved it. I played it through and through, and it was amazing. I loved it. What about you, Liv?
For me, I actually haven't been really too big into COD. However, I do know quite a few people who's into it. Surprisingly, my I guess you could call it COD experience is actually from a free-to-play game called Iron Sight, and it's basically a lot like COD. I believe Black Ops 2 is what it resembles a lot like, but I can't confirm that, but it's what I've heard, and it definitely can be fun, but I haven't played it in a while. But I have played it, and when I have played it, it is fun. It is enjoyable, and yeah, it is very. It is very awesome when you do get those high KDRs and you are just completely destroying the other team. It is very you get a lot of dopamine out of that. Let's just say that.
All right. Do you want to start with your questions that John had?
The ones that he wanted to talk about me? Or
yes.
Okay. So yeah,
he had 5 separate individual questions for both of us.
Yeah, and then there was ones I think that was supposed to be for just me, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have questions for me and we got questions for you. Do you want to start with you?
Sure. What makes you most happy in life? And for me, honestly, it's music, because I could listen to music anytime. Because of my new headset that I have, it's very interesting because it has detachable cables, and I could have dual audio channels running through them at the same time. So I could actually have my game on one and music on the other. And because of that, I can now actually listen to music while I stream now, which used to not be a thing. And yeah, for me, it's definitely music.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said during your stream that sorry if I don't answer chat because I'm listening to music.
Mm-hmm.
And you were just jamming it out.
Yes.
I could definitely tell you were just listening to the music and paying more attention to that while playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to answer one of my questions now?
Sure.
All right, then. John asked, how have you been? And that's his first question for me, which is but I've been better. But recently, my dad died, and well, I didn't feel so well at first because, well, it's your parent,
Right.
and you love your parent. You do anything to, and my dad died in front of me. It was a terrible experience. I hated it. I really did. But I do also realize that he would want me to just get on with my life and continue what I love doing. And I love doing YouTube. It's amazing how much I have dedicated like to my little YouTube channel. So there's that. So, do you have anything else to add, Liv?
Not really, but all I do know is it is very tough when you lose that first person that you actually know. Because I've lost many, but we'll probably get into that later. But yeah, it is definitely not easy for sure.
All right. So should we answer all of his questions that he had for both of us? Well, yeah.
Might as well. Yeah.
All right then. He asked you, what is your dream job?
I've thought about that, and it has changed multiple times over the years. If I go all the way back from when I was a kid, that would have been a pro wrestler at one point. But then that later changed to I was more into video games, so I started thinking something in just kind of like becoming a game developer, essentially. But sadly, it's one of those things to where I don't think there's a whole lot of schools in my area that kind of have a design class, an actual course to kind of like learn and hone those skills. So sadly, it's kind of been one of those things to where I would like to get into, but I basically got to like move far out of where I live in order to pursue that. So it's kind of essentially that is on hold. But lately, these days, to some degree, there is a part of me that would love to see my channel like grow, and it feels a little bit closer to like being able to have like essentially improve my channel, my streaming a little bit. So, I mean, these days I would probably say I think my dream job would actually be streaming, but it's one of those things to where it's possible, but you got to do a lot of work in order to actually grow. So, yeah.
Wow. I don't know what my dream job would be though, but that is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That you wanted to be a wrestler.
Yes, I have been interested in pro wrestling for many years. So it's one of
that is one side of you I did not know you had.
I actually recently bought a pro wrestling T-shirt. It was actually of Hana Kimura. She passed away on May 23rd last year, and it was really something that it took me by surprise. And I haven't and even more recently, like John Hubbard passed away. For those that know, Luke Harper and Brody Lee is what he's also known as, and like, but it was a little tough with John Hubbard, but I want to say it was more so with Hana Kimura because I saw all the potential of like what she could be, and to like prodigy would be the direct a proper term to describe her. And I seen her in the ring. She's really, really good. I believe she even had aspirations of even joining WWE and kind of being something like that, of like kind of like how Asuka is now, or Kairi Sane. And yeah, actually, I kind of got one of her T-shirts. I even heard that some of the proceeds was actually going to go to her family. So, and I thought that was just kind of interesting, and she was someone that would be greatly missed for sure.
I was just surprised because that's a side of you I've never seen.
It's one of those things to where not a whole lot. Pro wrestling's a very niche thing, and I discovered that very quickly when I got into streaming, because not a whole lot of people was into pro wrestling, and that was like it's really hard to have like a strong passion for something and basically have to withdraw, essentially, because like essentially I need someone from chat to kind of like bring something up, and then that's when the spark goes off, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I that wrestling fan just comes out. Most recently, I forget when I did that, but one of my most recent streams, I talked about pro wrestling for 3 hours straight, and it was the greatest 3 hours I think I've ever did in my stream in a long time. And that was just letting out all my grievances of just like, oh, God, if WWE could just be so much better, because you got like they have easily one of the best rosters I've seen in years, and some of these guys, they're just not getting pushed. And it's like I thought I heard that like Keith Lee had to go to like developmental, and it's like, are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding? It's Keith freaking Lee. That guy is like, the guy's a big dude, and he does like luchador style stuff. And when I see that, it's like his in-ring ability speaks for itself, and it's like, that don't need developmental. It's already built. Now you just need to get him in front of the camera. Like, you just need him to have him do his thing. And it's like, oh God, you hate to see it happen, but it just happens sometimes. And I mean, I know why a lot of people do join WWE's, because it's the biggest promotion out there, and you can't blame them. It just happens. So I don't blame anybody for liking WWE, because I was a huge WWE fan for the longest of time. But it's just seeing the company, the way it's changed over the years. It's not the same WWE that I got into when I was a little kid. And to see it today, it's like, you really do have one of the best rosters I've ever seen. And and some people are probably going to hate me for this, but I'll even go as far back as it's better than the Attitude Era, in my opinion. But that's just me. And for some reason, it's management that is the biggest problem. And clearly I could be here for hours just talking about it, but yeah, that's you just saw a little bit of a taste of the fan in me, so.
That is amazing, though.
Mm-hmm.
I was never really into wrestling that much,
right?
But I got into it like when I was like a kid, and I was like maybe, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8. And I started really getting into all the wrestling, boxing, and kung fu, karate, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any of it. I don't know how to do any of it, but I did start like getting really into all that. And just, that is one side that is amazing to see, because most of the time you mostly keep to yourself,
right,
in your streams. And seeing a side of you like that it's amazing that you're even comfortable to even open up. right here. All right. The next question that he wanted to ask me, what's your best memory of us gaming? And we got random guns. I forget what we were doing. I forget what game mode it was. But we were on some game mode, and we kept switching guns every single time we hit the triangle button on the PlayStation 4. And every time we'd hit the triangle button, it changed to a different weapon each time. So you'd always have more than one weapon to use. And I always loved getting the crossbow. I loved the crossbow. And I was really getting into Green Arrow at the time. So you can definitely see that I really liked Green Arrow when I kept getting the crossbow. So that is my favorite memory of us gaming. You have anything to say, Liv?
No. I think everything is good.
All right. We are getting close to the end of John's questions here. He asked, for your third question, what's your favorite band?
Favorite bands? That is... I'm actually gonna kind of cheat here because basically there's a reason why you're probably seeing my name in Discord as L1ve2Win because both of those, one is actually the name of the band that I recently got into, and what you're seeing in Discord is the name that would have been had I discovered it before I started my streaming career. And so with the name L1ve2Win, it's basically Motorhead, and Motorhead's my favorite band of all time. They did a song called L1ve2Win. L1ve2Win is tattooed on Lemmy's arm. Lemmy's basically the whole guy that started Motorhead, and he has it tattooed at Ace of Spade. I believe it actually was from 1980 when he actually did that album. And he has tattooed on his, I believe, his left arm, Born to Lose, Live to Win. And if I was ever going to come up with a name, I was going to use either Born to Lose or Live to Win. And I felt like Live to Win felt like more of like a positive than to go with Born to Lose. So I figured I'm going to go with Live to Win. And then upon doing so with doing my own podcast with another friend of mine, Dark47, we actually started doing a thing called Artist of the Week. And I picked an artist, and one day I was just listening to my artist, and then I discovered this one particular YouTube video of a live performance of a band called Wageki Band. And Wageki Band blew me away. I never heard a band like that before. Motorhead's more of like, it would be described as essentially metal, but Wageki Band is very interesting because it's basically Japanese folk rock, essentially is what it is. And I never heard a band that uses traditional Japanese instruments and they blend it with modern day rock instruments. And there's one particular live performance that I would recommend everyone to look up, because basically watching that live performance, I went from, okay, this is like a generic rock band, but you know, where's the it factor in this? And then as it just progressed, it was like, oh my god, please tell me this is actually life, because I never heard anything like this before ever. So even though that by the end of the day, my answer would be Motorhead, but I will say it's because of Waikiki Band. I'm now starting to listen to Japanese rock bands, and it is very interesting. I feel like I'm diving into a whole nother genre of music that I've never even heard before, and it's simply amazing. So.
Oh, I remember that too. It's like when I first started watching your channel too.
Mm-hmm.
You added a thing to your overlay saying Waikiki on the L1ve2Win thing. I remember that, and that was like what, July?
I forget when I started doing that, but probably.
It was a little bit after I met you, because
it was
when I remember when I first got onto your thing, you didn't have Waikiki on your L1ve2Win thing, your picture, and I do remember you actually telling me that, actually, because I asked you what was your favorite band on the live stream. I'm pretty sure, and then you started answering, Motorhead and Waikiki, and then you showed me an overlay of your L1ve2Win thing, and then it said Waikiki, and you said you had just changed it to Waikiki on the thing.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those things to where I'm always going to stick with L1ve2Win, but since I already had that established, Waikiki is basically essentially the name that would have been. So now I'm basically coming up with ways to kind of add Waikiki into essentially in any kind of type of graphic of my name. Waikiki is going to be in there somewhere. If you look hard enough, I'm going to do it every single time. And I just think that would be like a little bit interesting. It's kind of like a hidden reference for those that know, essentially. And yeah, it's something that I discovered after the fact, and I really wished I discovered it beforehand, but it's the way it goes sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, I got my YouTube name from a video game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was playing Infamous Second Son, and the main character's name is Delsin Rowe.
Interesting.
And my brother bought the game on the PlayStation 4 back in 2014. This is like when the PlayStation 4 first came out. The game was brand new. We also had Watch Dogs and Infamous Second Son. Those were the two main games that he had at the beginning. And I loved playing Infamous Second Son a lot. The character intrigued me to the point where it spoke to me in some sort of way. And I started liking the name a lot. And when the character loses his brother, that lost me right there. I fell in love with the character even more, and just the acting that the actor does, Troy Baker. He also plays Kanji on Persona 4 Golden, which I did not know that at first, because I wasn't into Persona 4 Golden when I first got into Infamous. So it is definitely a lot to the character and his design. It's just amazing how the character grows just from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, and you can either choose evil or good, and it's a really good game. I love it. It's amazing. Anything else you want to add there, Liv?
Uh, Not really. The only other thing I think I probably would add is it's kind of interesting that you brought up Troy Baker, because I think I recently discovered, I don't know how often he does, but I thought I heard on Twitch he actually does stream, and I thought that was kind of interesting, because that was just something I didn't know. I don't know how often he does. Yeah.
I didn't know about Troy Baker at first.
Mm-hmm.
I just like when I was playing the game Infamous, he did an amazing job playing the character Delsin. And the way he brought the character to life, it really spoke to me, and that's why my YouTube channel name is Delsin Rowe.
Right.
And the 832 at the end, my brother came up with those numbers. Those letters, actually. But he came up with all of that, and I've kept it because, well, one, it's a game that me and my brother played, and my brother came up with 832 at the end. So I just kept it that way because I love my brother so much. I do. But mostly everything to my channel, it will give a little bit of what he likes as well, just a little bit. And I came up with the name just one day when I was just on YouTube, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna name myself Delsin Rowe832. And at first, when I first started like making real YouTube videos back in like 2016, I had Delsin Rowe and then a dash Delsin Rowe832. I had it all together squished because Delsin Rowe832, nobody could find me by that name. And so I decided to put Delsin Rowe832 at the end of the Delsin Rowe. Do you have anything you want to ask about that?
No. Thought that was just kind of interesting. I didn't know about the 832 part.
Yeah, my brother came up with that. He came up with that during when he created my first email. My brother decided to make me an email for everything, and he decided to put 832 at the end. And I'm just like, why did he choose that? But then I realized the 8 probably represents the day I was born on my birthday, and the 3 probably represents my my birth year, 2003, and the 2 probably represents us. So who knows? 2 brothers. I don't know. He just came up with it randomly.
Right.
All right. So the next question that John wanted to ask me, what is your favorite game? My favorite game was back on the PlayStation 2, and it was the Ghost Rider game for the PS2. I played that for hours. My brother couldn't even get me away from the TV screen. He tried to play his own games, and then I'd get in the way and play Ghost Rider on the PS2. And till this day, it's still my favorite game. So it's my first favorite game, and then the second would be Infamous. So there's that. You want to ask anything about that, Liv?
No. Something I didn't know about.
All right. And the next thing he wanted to ask you, Liv, where do you see your channel in 10 years?
Quite possibly doing the exact same thing I am doing. as always, I would love to see my channel grow at least a little bit, but most likely, probably gonna be mostly the same. I think. I'm sure the games that I'm gonna be playing is probably gonna be different from now for sure. But yeah, probably gonna be a small community of individuals that enjoy the same games that I do, and just I don't think there's going to be too much change. A lot what I'm doing now, I think, is probably going to be the same in 10 years.
He asked me the same question as well, and I see my channel in 10 years hopefully successful, because I love doing what I do, and playing games is one of my favorite things to do. And with everything that's going on in my life, hopefully everything does get better, but I do see my channel probably successful, because honestly, if I keep up what I'm doing, maybe I'd get more subscribers and everything. I do love doing YouTube. It's my favorite thing to do, and I would never give it up. So, you want to hear your last question?
Sure.
All right. What can I expect from your channel?
Basically, mostly streams. There is a few, YouTube videos. I do have a couple of YouTube videos in mind, but it's just my main focus is streaming. Mostly because it's a little bit more easier to just kind of relax, put on a stream, put up a game that I just really enjoy, and just kind of go from there. I have done a few actual YouTube videos in the past. Some of them a little bit more interesting than others. Mostly Payday 2 builds and Payday 2 kind of driven, but I just kind of grew away from that and just kind of moved on to other stuff. And for the most part, it would just be me just doing my streams and whatever game I'm kind of interested in. So right now, I'm kind of just going through Yakuza Like a Dragon. Hopefully, I would be able to do Yakuza 3, 4, and 5 when that eventually releases. Should be a little bit later in this month, so I'm looking forward to that.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. So the next thing he wanted to ask me, and this is the last question for me, what's your favorite YouTube channel? My favorite YouTube channel would definitely be Smosh right now. I really am getting into that and everything. It's a small little channel, and it's they mostly do challenge videos and then some like acting videos. It's I stay on Smosh Pit though. That's the other channel that they have, and they do mostly challenges over there and everything. And right now, that's my favorite channel. So. Do you have a favorite channel, Liv?
Not really, but if I had to answer it, I would probably say, probably, I think his name is Larry Bundy Jr. I thought it was kind of interesting watching his channel, mostly because he just kind of does like countdowns of like just interesting things about video games, and it's kind of like over the years. So some of it's kind of like new, some of it's kind of old, and It's just kind of interesting to kind of hear some of the interesting stories behind some of the video games that I don't know about.
My headphones died.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So you might hear yourself in the background.
Yeah, I noticed.
I noticed. I'm sorry. My headphones died just in the middle of that, and I had to switch over to the phone.
That's fine.
All right. I could also have it to my ear, but it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I usually don't hold my phone to my ear. Because most of the time I have my headphones. All right. So, do you want to get in the questions that I had for you?
Sure.
All right. I believe I already asked you this. What do you use to cope when you're uncomfortable? Did you answer that in the beginning?
It feels like I did.
I think you did too, but I'm not too sure.
I guess I will reiterate.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know if you said it in the beginning or not.
Yeah, it's fine. Just real quick, I think I'm gonna mute you every time I talk because it's just so.
I could mute myself.
or that.
Do you want me to do that?
Sure, if you can.
All right. I'm gonna mute myself now.
All right. So yeah. Basically, feeling uncomfortable. It's something that I can't really. There's no technique I really have for it. It's just really what it boils down to is just because I always talk whenever I do my stream, so I don't like dead air, and because of that, it basically I always kind of talk about whatever's on my mind, and that's always kind of difficult when you're uncomfortable. You're kind of put in a position to where you kind of like not speaking would kind of be like a better way to go about it, but at the same time, because you could kind of like process what's going on, but when I'm streaming, it's a little bit different because I kind of feel like a need to just keep talking, and in the process, that's where a lot of the issue kind of comes in. So I really don't have any real technique or anything. It's just something I just kind of have to like learn over time. And yeah, it's just something I just kind of brute force most things, and that's just one I just kind of brute force. So that's all I have to say.
I wasn't really sure if you answered that in the beginning, but I'm pretty sure you did.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you for repeating that.
Yeah, no problem.
The second question I had for you, when do you feel vulnerable?
When do I feel vulnerable? I really don't know how to answer that. That one's actually kind of tricky. When do I feel vulnerable? I really don't know. That is a very good question. I actually really don't know. I don't think I have an answer for that, sadly.
All right. I wouldn't know what I'd say if that question was answered to me at all. I don't know what I would say either.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought I would put it in there just because it's something for us to get to know each other with.
Which is fine.
Yeah. The third question I have for you: what is a dream you never said out loud?
I'm assuming a dream you mean like actually like waking up from a dream kind of type of thing. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay. I have I've said, let's just put it this way. I have had some weird dreams over the years, and I believe I may have. I feel like I said it on stream, but I don't know. It is the most batshit crazy kind of type of dream I've ever had. I don't think I've ever had anything like it before or since, and I want to say I was probably, I don't know, I think it was right before I got into high school. There was this one crazy dream. I actually woke up and I tried writing it down. And I remember a few times when I moved in the past, I actually came across the original paper that I wrote describing this crazy ass dream. So basically, I remember there was this one place I was living at the time, and for some reason I remembered I fell asleep, and the dream, it was at night, and all of a sudden it felt like I was in a zombie movie, but all the zombies were replaced with hippies, and they were trying to break into my house because they thought it was a Walmart. And I even remember saying that out loud. Everyone, bear down the goddamn house, because they're trying to break in. They think it's a Walmart. They got the munchies. And I am just, it is the most craziest fucking dream. It is weird. It is fucking weird. Believe me, I know you're cracking up laughing, and I would too. It is the most batshit crazy thing. And you ever wake up and you're just in the middle of laughing? That's what happened. And I just started cracking up laughing. I gotta write this down. This is a fucking joke here. And it was the most craziest dream I think I've ever had. And I never had anything like that before or since. And that was just the stupidest thing I've ever. And I feel like I said this on my stream, but I don't know if I actually did. And if anyone was actually there to hear it, but that was one dream I had, and it is the weirdest thing. It is absolutely the weirdest thing. And yeah, a whole bunch of zombies got replaced with hippies trying to break into a Walmart that was my, I think it was an apartment or something. I know, dude. I know. Mm-hmm. I know. You keep laughing. I'm gonna start laughing too.
It's hilarious just because it's something you never expect.
I don't know what triggered it. Like, what was I watching to like trigger this atrocity? I don't know. I have no clue. All I just know is the stupidest thing ever. Oh my god.
I'm pretty sure you remember what I talked about in a dream. If you remember, I had a nightmare.
Very, very vaguely, but do refresh my memory.
Yeah, I had a nightmare where I had a daughter named Nora. She, my daughter, she was in my dreams, and she was very sweet, kind, and just, if you remember me saying this, my aunt killed her in my dreams.
Very vaguely, yes.
Yeah, and I do not know what caused it. I have no idea what caused it, but I woke up from that nightmare crying because, well, obviously that's my daughter.
Right.
And she died in front of me. And that is what really triggered me. And I do not know what triggered that nightmare, but it was triggered somehow.
Yeah, that is, I vaguely remember that, and, yeah, I remember you telling me that story in my chat, and Yeah, that is just one of the most craziest things, because obviously that's a very personal one, and it's a very, well, I mean, to put it bluntly, it's something that you really hope does not ever happen. And obviously that is I I to this day I actually don't know how I would react to something like that, as because I mean that is clearly something that you do not want to and exactly like what you said, you have no idea what triggered it, and I completely understand. Like, it is something about the subconscious, it just kind of really just kind of triggers some of the most weirdest things. I wish I could crack a joke here, but to kind of like just break that experience, but I could just refer back to my dream for that. But
Yeah, well, I don't know what triggered it though, but at the time I could not sleep after I had that dream. And every time I did go back to sleep, I'd see that dream happen over and over and over again. I do not know why, but that is what happened.
Yeah.
And I don't know what really to say, just because that is something I never want to happen.
And what makes it even more weird is like it's reoccurring, and that makes it even more, because it's one thing, because like with me, like it was one dream and I never had again, even though I would be open to the invitation of more hippies breaking into my house. However, like going, joking aside, I mean, it's one thing to have like a joke that, or excuse me, to have a dream that you have happen, and then it's complete and total nightmare, and it's so kind of like real to a degree, and then to have it like be reoccurring, that's even more like really out there. So yeah, it again, it's like sometimes our subconscious is just very bizarre at times, and that is definitely one that is, yeah, like how does it trigger, and like, yeah, I really don't know what to say. It is really out there for sure.
Yeah, I remember telling you that, and then the next day I went into your stream, and you said, "Is it all right if I upload the video of me and somebody else opening up to you?"
All right, Andy.
And you uploaded it saying chats from around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And when I told you in the next stream, I said it's okay, go ahead, upload it. And you were very cool about the dream, and you what I remember you saying was I do not really know what to say about that. Those are your words that you said during that stream. I told you that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why it happened, but it is a dream that I have not had since maybe after that month. But I had that dream throughout that entire month, and it was terrible. I did not like waking up like that.
Right. And I completely feel you. Completely understand. It's really, like I said, it's really hard to put into words something like that, because it definitely taps into something that is very real, and very, you hope never happens, and hope that never will ever happen. And yeah, it is very bizarre to have something that real and have it be reoccurring. And completely understandable as to why, essentially to kind of like look for answers. I think if it were me, I think I would be in the exact same boat as you, to where I think I would be trying to look for answers, and hopefully someone would uh, essentially say what I kind of need to hear, not necessarily what I want to hear, if that makes sense.
I after that I had the dream and I couldn't sleep for a week. I stayed up for almost a week, and I told my dad about it. This is like when he was still alive and everything. And I told my dad the dream, and then he told me that that we'd have that he had dreams of people dying, and then later that day on the news that it turned out to be true. And I'm like, what? I I don't remember that. But then and then he remembered something else, and then I remember that as well. So he had dreams of people like dying, and then it actually turned out to be true.
Hmm. Yeah, that is really strange.
Yeah, that is really strange. And that probably happened because, well, we're Indian. And he said that Indians sometimes have dreams of the future. And I asked him, well, could this be a future? And he said, it's probably not. It's probably just your fears. And I'm like, well, if it's not, then I'm afraid.
Right. Yeah, that.
And just hearing that, like, it kind of made me it made me feel like not to sleep at night. And most of the time I did not go to sleep at night just because of what is going on in my dreams.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, to basically be afraid to sleep. That is. I have no idea what to think with that, because obviously there's a real fear there, and on top of that, to again reoccurring, and then to basically kind of like put so much fear that you can't even sleep. And in order it is very stressful to stay up for long hours, and I do that just by default sometimes, and that is definitely not healthy, for sure. But yeah, that is very, very bizarre, very interesting for sure.
Well, I'd go to sleep, but then I'd wake up in the middle of the night crying.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that is so strange.
It was hard to wake up like that, but I realized that it maybe just be my fears that's taking over. So if I do have a kid in the future and she dies, that is really going to hurt me.
Right. Yeah, that is that is definitely just losing someone is hard, but to lose someone, especially kind of going back to Hanakamura, I think I kind of gravitated, like when she passed away. I think I kind of felt like it hurt a little bit more, because like she was only 21 years old, and it's like she still had her entire life ahead of her, and that would definitely be something on anyone, for a mother or a father to kind of like lose their own child, and that would definitely weigh on them, the life they definitely could have had, for sure.
Well, I didn't expect to have a dream like this,
I know.
especially since a person that doesn't even exist yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't even have a daughter yet, and I'm over here having nightmares that she's going to die in front of me.
Yeah, that is just really something. It is definitely one of the more definitely one of the more dreams that I know I wouldn't want to think about. Also, it's just really out there. It's definitely something.
I was like really sad some of the days that happened, just because of like everything that was going on with my dad, and we found out that he had cancer and all that and everything, and then me having those dreams just added more. What's the word? Um, it was making me more afraid
Mm-hmm.
of living, if that makes sense.
Yeah, now like kind of like putting the pieces together. Yeah, that's with your father passing away, and then to have this dream on top of it. Yeah, now it makes it even more intriguing for sure.
And I had this dream like literally months before he had died. And now that he's gone, I'm hoping that this does not happen.
Yeah, that is very uh, a very painful thought to definitely have, and to maybe even like lose the thing that could probably help you guide you through it. Seeing that your father apparently had some dreams and maybe could have had possibly the.
And I told my family about these dreams too, and they thought it was bizarre too. And when I told my mom, my sister, and my brother in law about it, they were like, why would you have a dream about this? And I told them, I do not know why I would have a dream like this. I was wondering myself. And yeah, I don't know what caused it, but I had it for almost a month. And those dreams kept me up for a month. And sometimes I'd get some sleep. I'd probably get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and that's it. And I'd wake up maybe at like 4 in the morning, 5, 6, I don't know. I go to sleep at different times, and it got to the point where I do not like those dreams.
Yeah, no one would like to have any dreams like that, especially reoccurring. Um. Uh. Yeah, it's definitely crazy and bizarre for sure. Um.
Well, I never expected to have dreams like this,
Mhm.
and then I had them. So, do you want to move on to your next question?
Sure.
Sure. All right. The next question is, how do you see me?
I think you kind of cut off at the end there. I just heard, "How do you see me?" And
Yeah,
there
that's
was a
it.
one pot. That's just it. That's how you see me.
Yeah, that's the question. How do you see me?
Okay. Uh. Well. Definitely. As a viewer. A little bit of acquaintance, a friend. To my channel, and of course. Uh. I'm pretty sure you did tell me that you were a YouTuber and all that stuff, but whenever you're just kind of like caught up in whatever you're doing currently, it's always kind of hard to like keep up with everyone else in your chat, even if it is a small one at that. So, because like whenever I stream, I'm just like whatever's in front of me, like I'm kind of on, but the second I turn off my stream, I just kind of like easily just like wind down and just kind of continue on. So, but yeah, I definitely see you as a friend, acquaintance to my channel, and I'm very proud to have someone like yourself a part of it. People like you is definitely what I wish I kind of had more of, but only I guess time would tell. I guess.
Yeah. And my last question for you: if you could choose one superpower, what would it be and why?
That one, I believe I skimmed through the questions, saw that one, and when I saw that one, my first thought was possibly the ability to forget, and because I think we all have experiences that just kind of happen that we want to forget them, and to just have that ability to just forget, I think could do a lot of good. And yeah, I think that would definitely. I know it sounds weird, and it may not be, because I know some other people would probably want to have the ability to fly and all that, but for me, sometimes it's just the ability to forget, because there has been times to where I regret doing something, regret saying something, and I wish I can't have a reset button, but the next best thing is just that ability to just kind of forget and just move on, essentially.
I wish I had that for the nightmare I had.
I know.
That would have been useful.
I know.
And I would love to forget that. That right there was the worst experience for me. And I do not know what to really do to forget it, actually. Because honestly, that's kind of hard to forget.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely something that I've never really heard before, but it's definitely something that even I myself, like, just hearing it, it's like definitely it's hard to kind of like just forget and move on with something with that so much weight. With that, it's definitely really really hard for sure.
Well, I have more questions, but they're all for John, and he's not in the stream in the chat anymore.
Right.
So, do you want to move on to what TV shows we've watched?
Sure.
Sure.
All right. So, do you want to start?
Sure.
Sure.
I guess I could do that. So TV shows that I kind of watch, kind of skipping over because we already kind of talked about it a little bit, is the pro wrestling
Oh, and
shows.
I kind of added like top 10.
Oh, top 10?
And, like, yeah, that's what I did. And I just put like the top 10 that I like. So that's what I did, just so you know.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I know it's like a little like last minute here, but I did type it in your direct message box, but I don't think you looked at it.
probably not. I thought that was top 10 for I thought that was top 10 video games, I think. Okay, that's probably my bad.
Well, we could probably do that next time if we
Maybe.
continue to do this.
No, this is fine. This is fine. Top 10 shows. Well, easily my number one would be Upright Citizens Brigade. That show is just really, really funny. It's an old show from the 90s. I had a friend of mine, actually a mod in my channel, actually watch it, and we just had a blast just watching that. Yeah, Upright Citizens Brigade is definitely my number one. After that, it would just kind of be a hit and miss. Probably Cowboy Bebop would be another one that would be on the list. It's anime that's really good. A lot of you know when something's really good is like the music, the acting, and the story that they tell it just all goes well. That's when you know there's a hallmark of something really good.
I've had some of that.
It even comes up in video games from time to time as well. So, but yeah. Other than that, I recently discovered another anime by, apparently a lot of people did not know that this was like the English voice acting to it is actually the better version, mostly because it's just so hilarious. I would probably even go as far as to say it's the Upright Citizens Brigade of animes. It's Ghost Stories. It is, so basically I guess the Japanese version didn't do too well, and they ended up just redoing the English voice actors got to just basically do anything, and they just made it more comedic, and it was really hilarious. There was only 20 episodes of it, and it was really, really good. And then of course, if I had to go on, probably classic Simpsons. The Simpsons has just been around for years and years, and they're still going on today. But I think right around probably mid 90s to like early 2000s is probably more of the glory days of The Simpsons. Highly recommend it. It's really funny. South Park, once again, kind of more of classic South Park is kind of like the better version of it. Even from time to time, me and my IRL friends, we kind of, there's always something that we just bring up, and it's always like from classic versions of either The Simpsons or South Park. After that, it's more just kind of like hit and miss. I'm sure I'm going to be missing like so many other TV shows here, so I do apologize if I miss one that I forget to bring up. But possibly another good one would be something like Boardwalk Empire. Boardwalk Empire is a TV show on HBO, and I always kind of like enjoyed like the 1920s, 1930s, and to see a show about Prohibition is kind of interesting to me. Specifically, it follows they are actually real people in real life, but there are like a few characters that's just added to the show to kind of create more drama, that sort of thing. But yeah, Boardwalk Empire is really good. I'm trying to think of another show that I really enjoy. I'll probably just say one more and just leave it there, because I'm really kind of trying my best to remember, and my memory's not that great. I kind of naturally have the ability.
I wrote
to
mine
forget.
down.
I know I should have did the same. But there you go. I think if I had to name off another show, probably I'm trying to think of either go comedy or I guess I'll go that route. Another show I do really like is a show called Burn Notice. I really like the show because they do kind of have like tidbits of like real. It's about a guy that got into like going in undercover, so to speak, and like works for CIA and that sort of thing. But what I like about it is they do kind of like point out like real life stuff. Stuff like if you shoot out a gas can, it's not going to explode because it needs something to essentially ignite. And they point out like little stuff like that. I forget all the little... they take what Hollywood tells you and they just basically put the realistic spin to it, and I always kind of find that a little bit entertaining. Plus, if I remember correctly, there is a actor on the show that I didn't know it until someone pointed it out. That's the guy from Evil Dead, I believe. There was this old, I think it was a movie, and the guy like actually had to, like, his arm was possessed and it was trying to kill him, and he had to like hack off his entire arm, and he ended up with a chainsaw by the end of it. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that vaguely, and I had no idea that that was the guy. And I think his name is Bruce Campbell, if I remember correctly. That's the name of the real actor. And yeah, and I just, it was one of those things I kind of forgot, and then I was like, oh yeah, it's that guy. And I also kind of went back and saw that movie somewhat. I believe it was the first one, and it was so different from what I remember. But yeah, I know there should be more, but that's all I could recall at the moment. So my bad. Didn't prepare.
Yeah, I got all mine written down, and it sounded like you were talking about Evil Dead.
I forget what it's called. It's like Evil Dead or Dead Evil, but yeah.
Yeah, I got all of mine written down. I've wrote 11 actually. I have no idea why, but I wrote 11 down instead of 10. Oh. And the first one is definitely Lucifer. That was an amazing show. The acting is so good, and just the character's growth throughout the entire show is what really intrigued me the longer I watched. And it's the devil solving crime. Like, what can be interesting than that? And just the way that he is just he's so different in the show. And it's like what is it? He goes from selfish to caring more about humans than others, like the other angels and everything. Right. And that what's really intrigued me to just keep me watching. Now, I did mention I like Green Arrow, so obviously the second show would be Arrow. That was going on for 8 years. From 2012 to 2019, it was going on for a long time. And the growth of Oliver Queen throughout the entire show, he has really grown from just season 1 to season 8. You can definitely see how much he's grown as a character, and how much he cares about others than he first did at first. So there's that. The third show is Iron Fist, the Marvel's Iron Fist on Netflix. That I watched that show, and I liked it from just the first episode. First episode I watched, and Danny Rand is the main character. Now, I don't know much about Marvel, although Ghost Rider is Marvel. And I liked Ghost Rider, and I thought, well, I might as well check out some of the other Marvel characters. Iron Man, Captain America, and all those. I watched all those movies. And Iron Fist really stuck out to me during that entire time that it was out. And I started watching Iron Fist back in 2019. And they added only just 2 seasons of that. The show did not do well on Netflix, apparently. But I loved it. It was amazing. The fourth show that I watched is The Flash. I love The Flash. And I love super speed. That right there is just an amazing power to have. But I don't know. There are just things about the character that I just can't explain. And Barry Allen he's amazing throughout the entire 6 seasons. And the next show is DC's Legends of Tomorrow. I got a lot of DC on here, just so you know. I have a lot of DC. The Legends of Tomorrow, I started watching that. That was actually the first DC show that I watched, actually. I started watching that with my uncle. And I started watching it, and each time I watched the episode, I started liking more and more of it. And I'm gonna say this right now, spoilers. I hate when they killed off my favorite character. I hated that. And the next show is Mr. Iglesias, the comedian Gabriel Iglesias, Fluffy. He has a TV show about him teaching. Obviously, that's not true. It's a Netflix show based on. He heard that his teacher was had passed away, so he decided to honor her memory with Mr. Iglesias. But she later turned out not to be dead, so that was kind of weird. The next show is Black Lightning. Now, Black Lightning, I like that. It's different from the other DC shows and everything. It's I didn't expect to start liking Black Lightning, but he was, like, what do I say? He cared more about helping his family more than being a superhero. And I like that about the character. He cares more about his family than being the superhero Black Lightning. And the next show was Cobra Kai. This was when season 1 and 2 were out. And I watched all of that within 3 days. I binged watched that. The next show was Marvel's The Punisher. I liked that. That was it was gory, but it gave me a perspective on what Frank Castle is like. And the next show, I watched this with John actually before he moved down to Florida. Transformers War for Cybertron Siege. I watched that with John, and we watched the entire 6 episodes in one day. And then the last show, number 11, Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. I watched that. It was terrible. So that's why it's at the bottom of my list. But I did like the actors. They did amazing acting just in the show. But they're trying to they're trying too hard for the Terminator movies. And recently I watched the Terminator Dark Fate, and that right there that set me off just because of what happens in that movie. That is all of the shows I've watched in 2020. So I'm done with that. But the Sarah Connor Chronicles, why are they trying to add on to the character that is supposed to be dead? She dies of leukemia. And why are they trying to make the show technically about her when really the entire timeline of the Terminator is to protect John Connor? So I don't know why it would be about her.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. It's the way I like that.
But that is all I have. The last show is critical. I barely like that show. I'll say that right now. I barely like it.
Yeah, sounds reasonable.
Have you watched any of the Terminator movies?
I have, but it seemed like it was years ago, so but I haven't really watched not really much of a movie guy, but but I'm sure there's TV shows as well, but yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen them.
The only TV show of Terminator is Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles. That is the only TV show for Terminator.
Yeah, I thought there would be like an animated series or something.
It only lasted for 2 seasons.
Huh.
It was a terrible show. But somehow I still found the time to watch it.
Yeah, I've never seen it, so I sadly got nothing on it.
All right. Do you want to move on?
I probably have 4 shows I could probably bring up, but it don't really matter.
All right. So the next thing that we were going to do was talk about games we've played.
Okay.
Do you want to go first or me?
Top 10?
Yeah, go for it. Might as well.
Okay.
So who's going first?
I guess you.
All right. Well, my first game would definitely have to be Ghost Rider. I said this before. Ghost Rider was one of the most played games when I was a kid. I played that more than I've played all the others. Second one definitely has to be Infamous Second Son. Definitely. Just because of how the character is and how much he's grown just from the beginning of the game to the end of the game and just everything. The third game would definitely have to be Watch Dogs. Now, I love that game. I love Aiden Pierce. I love how he cares about his family and just how he continues on after his niece is murdered and to find the killer. That's basically what the entire Watch Dogs 1 is about. The fourth game that I've played would definitely have to be Need for Speed Heat. I love that one. That is amazing. The next one is Need for Speed Undercover. Now, I've played that one since 2011. And that, that game just by itself was amazing in all the other ways. The fifth game would have to be Persona 5 because I fell in love with it. It was my first Persona game. The next one would have to be Persona 4. I played that one on the PS3, and it was the original PS2 version. And I played that through the entire game. Persona 3, I'm still working on that one. I really haven't found an interest in it yet. But I hope I do just because of what my uncle said. He said that he's loved that one and it was an amazing game to play. So I'm like, okay, so how am I going to get interested in that one? But I have played it through the entire game, but that was on the portable version on the PSP. And it's been a while since I think anybody's ever talked about the PSP. So there's that. The next game would probably have to be Persona 4 Golden on the PlayStation Vita. That was one of the other games that I played, and I loved it. I did. The next one is Friday the 13th, the game. I played that, and I fell in love with it just right from the start. Playing as Jason or a counselor, and that right there just made me fall in love with the game and see Jason in a different way. The next game would have to be Spider-Man. Definitely Spider-Man. I first bought the game actually a day after it came out. I bought it a day after it came out, and it was amazing how they spent, I don't know how long they spent on Spider-Man, but they definitely took a while on making Spider-Man, and they just made Peter come to life in a way that I never saw. And next game would have to be Spider-Man Miles Morales. I love Miles. He's an amazing character. And seeing Miles in Spider-Man Miles Morales was also amazing. Just how everything is going on in the game. We get to see Peter and Miles going around New York City, stopping crime and everything, and then Peter has to go. He's taking a vacation or something. And Miles is the only Spider-Man. That right there, 100%, I loved it. Just because that Peter trusted Miles to guard New York by himself. How many games was that?
Oh no, I wasn't counting.
All right. I guess I'll continue it. The next one will have to be Persona 5 Royal. Now, I love Persona 5 Royal, and I like how they added more to Persona 5. And they added new characters. They added 2 new characters. And I fell in love with the girl they added and the therapist that they added. I always wondered why they added him in, because I really didn't see the point of him until we got to the end of the game. And I'm not going to spoil anything because you haven't played it. So. And I guess I'll just add one more to the pile here. Call of Duty Black Ops 2. I love that one. That was amazing. Love that game.
All right, I guess it's on to me. So, basically, for my podcast on next week, basically, I have a list of top 10 games that I actually have a top 50, sort it down to top 10. But I'm looking at my list right now, and this is every game that I played in 2020 and streamed. So basically, I'm just gonna go at number 1 and work my way. Screw it. We'll go with number 10. So my number 10 game, it's Cyberpunk 2077. Now, I actually really love this game. The only problem is, and this is the whole reason why I put it at number 10, I'm slowly beginning to think that the developers are just gonna patch it up to where it's passable, and then they're just gonna move on to other things. And from the way it sounds, it might actually be the case, because they are coming out with DLC, and I kind of feel like you need to actually patch the game before you move on to DLC. don't just go right into DLC. That's what it sounds like what CDPR is actually doing. So time will tell if they would still patch the game, but all I just know is Cyberpunk is unplayable for console. I would not recommend it for consoles. I don't even think PlayStation 5 is going to be redeemable. But from what I played on PC, it is really, really good. I absolutely love the game. This would rank higher, but it's just the idea that the game still needs to be patched, and I'm not liking what CDPR is doing. At least at the moment. Yeah, go ahead.
I think you remember. Sorry, the dogs are in the background, but I think you remember because I went to your other podcast with Dark Fox, and I wrote in the comments that I was actually going to buy Cyberpunk 2077, but then when I got on there the next day, it was off the PlayStation Store.
Yeah, and basically, so for those that don't know, the game got a whole bunch of bad reception from the fan base, or at least those that bought the game and played it on. I don't know the condition for Xbox, but I don't think it's too far off from Sony. And so basically for PlayStation, it got so bad that Sony actually had to... Apparently, they don't allow refunds on the digital copies. So basically, anyone that bought the game digitally all got refunds. And on top of that, you could only get this game for PlayStation 4 from the physical copies, nowhere else. And it's really, really bad. What is it? CD Projekt Red, they took a massive hit with this game. So bad that it ended up it hurt them financially. It's really bad. If they would have released the PC version first, I think everything would have been fine. But it's because so many people have consoles, and you release a game for a platform and it doesn't work. And what makes matters even worse, CDPR actually released a video recently, and it really is more of an apology for console users, console players. And for the most part, it's basically, according to them, and this just comes off so much like a red flag. If you ever watch the video, they actually say, and I quote, "We didn't come across any of the problems in our tests." I call BS on that, because anyone that played the game would have seen those issues. How it managed to squeak by them, I could see them come across more than one issue. To not come across all of them, that's a red flag. So yeah, it's really, really bad. So basically Sony had to take it down off their PlayStation Store, and they have to refund everybody, at least for the digital copies. For the physical copies, obviously that's to whatever retailer you got it from. So whatever store you bought it from, you have to take it up with them. And it really is, it puts me in an awkward position, because I know I played essentially a game of the year, but it was handled so terribly, and it hurts that I actually really love the game. And I know there's people out there who, just because of their bad experience of how badly managed this game was, just slapped together. And it just, let's just say this, the PC version, which I played, and plus I have a powerful PC, so was able to run it. There was a lot more love and care for the PC port over the consoles, at least for previous gen. Fingers crossed that maybe PlayStation 5 is gonna be passable, but from what I played, this game runs exactly like a PC port, to where it's so demanding. Even mid-tier PCs are having difficulty running this game. For some people, even at mid-tier, it's kind of difficult to run. So it's only those high-tier PCs. Luckily, I'm one of those that has a high-tier PC. But it's really bad that you released it for a platform that clearly doesn't work. So they still went through with it. Obviously I could be here all day just talking about that alone, so I feel bad for all of those that did buy it. The game does, even on the PC version, there is bugs. I wish they were all patched, but time will tell, I guess. For all those that are on console, I'm praying like hell that it's gonna get patched up properly. But yeah, with that. If you want to
add anything.
Yeah, I just hate that I was actually going to buy it and then it was taken off. But I did hear about all the problems, and I'm like, why would you guys not notice these problems? That's what I was thinking in my head. How could you guys not notice the problems? I expected to have problems on Persona 4 Golden besides just starting it up and it crashing. That's what I expected more of, like, for Persona 4 Golden. I expected it to just be not such a good port. If you play Persona 4 Golden, that right there is a good port just by itself. But what I hear from Cyberpunk 2077 is that everything is what was the problems again?
It's all over the place.
It's all over the place.
So
yeah. So honestly, those problems are like way worse than I thought Persona 4 Golden was going to be, just because it was the first Persona game to ever go to a PC, and I did not expect that game to be such a good port of Persona 4 Golden. But Cyberpunk 2077, I have heard like a lot of awful things about that game. I have no idea why.
I've heard people say that it's the Fallout 76 of 2020, and for consoles, yes, but not necessarily, because with Fallout 76, it was bad across the board. So even I should be experiencing a fraction of what the console guys are going through, and in comparison, no. And because of that, it doesn't qualify for a 76. But I do see where people are coming from, because for previous gen on PlayStation 4, it's basically running well below like proper frame rate. Like, you can't get 60 frames, you can't probably get 30, maybe, and it's just choppy as hell. Their textures are not fully rendered. I remember describing it as everything just kind of looks like a marshmallow, and like you could see something's there, but it's not fully rendered properly, and it's just all mush, and it's really, really bad for consoles. And kind of like what you were saying, it is a little odd how so many times PC guys have to put up with broken console ports. like you mentioned, like Persona, and Persona is definitely not the greatest I've ever seen, but all in all, from what I played from that, I guess it could have been worse. And yet the one time that a game like Cyberpunk happens, it's like it's now console is finally seeing what PC gamers have to put up with. And very much the same. Like, there's a lot of problems and issues, and they may get handled, they may not. And it's just really sad that that's the case. And I really want to see this game like come to fruition, but honestly, if you don't properly give the DLC that it desperately needs, obviously you ain't going anywhere. So again, there has been a lot of bugs and issues, but it's, to some degree, I almost kind of wonder, like, why is everything locked at the graphics that they are? Why not just, because that's another thing I started thinking about. For PC users, you could actually turn down the graphics. You could mess around with textures. You could mess around with lighting, shadowing. And all those little details do factor in to the overall performance. And with the way consoles are, they're just all locked. You can't mess around with any of the settings. But on PC, you can. And I started thinking, if consoles could actually have some of those abilities, it could probably run, but you would end up with the situation that some PC users have to put up with, to where you have shitty graphics, but you have perfect frame rate and a full game that could actually be playable. Or you could have what ended up with consoles, really good graphics, but pretty shit capabilities. Like, it's choppy frame rate. Things are not fully rendered. And that's just if those things could be all fixed, because there is a problem with some of the driving, there is problems with some of the AI, and problems are there, but it's one of those things, man, to where there's issues, they can be addressed, they are fixable, but will they actually fix it? And if they do get fixed, how good is it by the end of the day? So there is issues, there is problems, but I'm only hoping that it improves. And from the way it looks, at least from their video, I forget when that video was released. It was somewhat recently. It was either on the 13th or 14th, so it was like days ago. I really hope that it does actually improve, but we'll see what happens. But yeah. Unless you want to add more.
Well, it's just I was looking forward to that game for like what, since it was announced. Like, when was it announced?
It was already
2019,
something like that.
But I was looking forward to that game when it was first announced, and my uncle was hyped for it as well. But just like what I've been hearing, I don't want to play it on consoles, just because of like everything that was like everyone's been saying about it and everything. And it's just like, it's taken my mind to the point where, like, do I really want to play this game? Or, because honestly, I don't want to play a game that isn't that well, like, you know. It's what I've been hearing, it's terrible. But
it is.
What you're saying is, well, what you're saying, it's like it's good on a PC, but to a certain degree.
Yes.
So, just with that, it's it's kind of sad it will only work on PC and not consoles.
Mm-hmm.
That is the sad part right there.
It is.
Because I bet there are a lot of people out there saying that they wish they can play the game right now on console, but they can't because it's terrible.
And
that triggered me.
Mhm.
It really did. It triggered me. Just because how hyped I was just to see my favorite actor, Keanu Reeves, in a video game. And just with that,
right.
I have nothing else to say about that.
Yeah, and I know that there are some people that do actually have copies of the game for console, and they are torn on getting refunds. And it is good at its core when it runs, but sadly, it is definitely a no-go for consoles. Sadly, if I hear anything about it's been improved, you will know from me. But then again, it also boils down to like how many people that were hyped, and there are people that were super hyped for the game, but they never got the chance to play it. And with that, it's a whole case of like, it really is like a bad situation to where you put your heart and soul into something and you want to see it happen, but if it doesn't run, it's not gonna be it really puts you in a bad position because it's the game you always wanted, but yet you can't play it. And it completely locks out everyone that is on console, whether, again, I don't know how well it runs on Xbox, but I'm guessing it's not good. PlayStation, it's definitely it needs work, and I'm praying like hell that it actually does happen, because it happened to where it actually does get updated, it does get properly patched, and it is fully happening. And there has been more than one occasion to where even on the settings that I go with and with what I played, there is definitely areas that is just, no matter how low I set the settings, it's always a little choppy. At least with me in the settings that I went with. But yeah, it's just really sad to see, because I know the game can be good at its core, but when the game doesn't run, that's the issue, and it needs to run. Again, with me, I almost had little issues. Hell, I think I did another ending, and the game, I felt like I came across more bugs trying to do that one ending than to actually play the game throughout my entire playthrough. And because I would play a little bit, and then I would notice a bug, and then I had to like reload in order to get past it. Luckily, because of reloading, it reset everything properly. I was able to get through it, but there was a lot of progress, reload, go a little bit further, reload, and a whole bunch of that. And it really is a sad sight to see, because the game is so good when it does run, but for so many people, they can't even they can't even like play the game.
Did you hear me burp?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just had some chocolate milk. But yeah, what you were saying about it's terrible that I look forward to that game for maybe almost a year, and I can't even play it on my PlayStation.
Yeah. And it really is sad.
We've probably been And we've been probably talking about this for maybe 20 minutes now.
Yeah. That's because there's clearly a whole lot of passion from both ends. Because like I played what I honestly do, or I really do think I played a game of the year, but even with what I went through, I didn't go nearly as much as like what console went. And like it really is shutting down an entire. And a lot of people have consoles. The reason why people go with consoles is because they're cheaper. They're cheaper because they don't use the same high quality hardware that a PC would have. And the other thing with PC, like you could pick and choose where you want to beef things up and like have like all the best graphics and everything. You could boost your graphics card. You could boost your CPU, so on and so forth. But like, that's the thing about PC. You could do that. You can't really do that with console. They don't have like tiers. Well, unless they decide to do like a PlayStation Pro at some point, because I know they did that with PlayStation 4. But then if they do that, that could potentially be the death of consoles altogether, because people go with them because they're cheaper. And when they go with them because they're cheaper, it's a whole case of, well, how well can you build a console to where it's still, you're not paying a PC price, essentially. And that's a very tough, narrow thing to just kind of go down, because it really is a case to where you gotta keep the price low and try and find a way to get the quality up, but you can only do that if you just boost the hardware. And that's just something that consoles have always been lacking. And I think I even talked to a friend to where they were actually talking about like I think it was certain games from the past, like the PlayStation version always looked terrible in comparison to the PC version, only because of the whole build difference between the hardware used for consoles and the hardware used for PC. So, and yeah, it really is sad that this is the state that CDPR and Cyberpunk is in, because there are people like yourself that you really do want to play the game, but you're saving yourself a headache by not playing the game, and it's a whole thing. So
it's to the point where I do want to play it, but I don't want to play it just because of everything that's been happening.
Exactly.
But I hear lovely things about the game,
mm-hmm.
but then I also hear all the terrible things about it.
Right.
So, like, I don't want to spend $60 on a game that's basically barely running.
Mm-hmm.
So why would I want to spend $60 on a game that barely runs?
Exactly. And it's just not worth by the end of the day.
Now, if I was the unlucky one and bought the game like when it first came out, because I started pre-ordering games now, but if I pre-ordered that, I had no choice but to play it.
Right.
But now that I'm like here just talking about all the problems with it, it does have a lot of problems that they need to fix.
And there is a lot of problems for sure.
Yeah. And honestly, just there are so many problems, and we're still talking about this game.
Mm-hmm. I know, it's freaking insane.
Oh yeah, my headphones are charged.
Oh, great.
So I'm using them. So
right
now they're still at 100%. So at least they'll work for until we end the video.
Okay.
Do you want to carry on talking about this?
I was gonna finish off the rest of my list, but unless.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if you want to talk about this a little bit more, or do you want to continue on with your list?
Honestly, I think there is a lot of passion that you basically are hoping that there's probably a few answers that I have, so I would not mind just skipping the list and just talking about this. That's if you want, so ball's in your court.
Well, honestly, I don't mind talking about this game, just because it was like the one game I was looking forward to this entire year.
Mm-hmm.
And just to have my dad die on December 9th, and that was what, a week after the game came out?
I believe, I want to say for me it was around December 9th, December 10th, I want to say. I forget specifically when, because I do remember there was a couple of streamers. I was like, wait, they're able to get the game, but I also pre-ordered, so... And then it turns out they may have gotten kind of like a special copy of like the first release, essentially, the first version, and then everyone else was gonna, like, later on in the day, they were gonna get it, essentially. And plus... It was a whole case. I think they may have promoting a certain time zone specifically. So like, what's December 10th?
Right.
What's December 10th for, say, like Europeans is probably going to be December 9th for US, essentially. So
it was released on December 10th, a day after my dad died. So honestly, I was looking forward to it. My dad died. I did not have enough time to buy the game. I was still dealing with the death of my dad at that point. And release for Stadia, that's weird.
Yeah, it did also release for Stadia.
PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S versions plan to follow in 2021. Apparently, those games are coming in 2021 sometime for Cyberpunk onto the newer consoles. Hopefully, the game is better on those consoles just because of their new hardware and everything.
And hopefully that's the case.
Well, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully. We've been recording for 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 13 seconds. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't expect this to continue.
I knew it was gonna be like this because I've had it to where I did a podcast and I wrote material that I thought would only take like an hour. 2 hours later, it's the way it just happens.
Well, I know I wrote stuff down for 2 hours, but still. And technically, you've answered pretty much everything at this point. We answered all the questions that John wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
I gave you my questions, and you pretty much answered all the questions. Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
Not really. I think we covered a lot of ground, actually.
Yeah. So, do you want to end the podcast?
If you want to go another hour, I'm good for going another hour, but that's up to you.
Oh, well, I need to use a bathroom, dude.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's...
Well, we'll take a little break, and then we'll be back.
Well, if...
Is that all right?
Well, do you want to end the podcast? Because we could.
Well, honestly, I don't mind if you want to continue.
Right.
Because, honestly, this is kind of fun.
I'm good for another hour, but after that, I don't know. Just a heads up.
All right, so you want to take a little break and then come back?
We can take a little bit of a break and then be right back into it.
All right, guys. So we'll be back here in just a second for you guys, but for us, it's probably going to be a little bit. How long break do you want to take?
Probably 5 minutes, or give or take 10.
Yeah, sure.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we could do that. All right, guys. So we'll see you in a sec. So we'll see you then. Later. Okay, guys, we're back. So, Liv, where were we?
We were talking about top 10 games. I don't know if you want me to finish that list or kind of go into what we were talking about with Cyberpunk.
Yeah, go ahead and finish your list, and then we'll talk about Cyberpunk.
Okay, sounds like a plan. So, anyway, number 10.
Oh, and
yeah, go ahead.
Just so you know, real quick, I was listening to the stream that we first did.
Okay.
You can barely hear me. So the mic was messing on both Discord and on the live stream.
Wow.
And I listened back, and then my voice was not loud. It was like, "Hey guys, do you want to do the first question?"
Wow.
That's what it sounded like the entire time. And I'm like, what is going on? But then I realized I'm using the exact same mic that I was using on Discord as on the OBS. So there's that. So it looks like I have to use a different mic on Discord than OBS. So that means I'd have to get a mic.
I guess so.
Or keep using my phone.
Or that.
All right, so you can get back into your list now.
Okay. Yeah, that's mic issues. Gotta love them. Anyway, so Cyberpunk 2077 is my number 10. Again, what a ranked higher, but it's just not looking good. And then for number 9, I went with Metal Gear Solid 5. Number 8. Yeah, I never... That was actually my first ever Metal Gear Solid game, and I heard great things about 4. I wish I could play it, but my PlayStation 3 wants to crap out on me. I have to actually warm it up in order to even play it. So, it's very weird.
Oh, my PlayStation 3 doesn't do that. This was... I had 2 PlayStation 3s at this time. Well, I don't have 2 PlayStation 3s anymore, but my mom got me a PlayStation 3 Slim.
Oh.
Actually, it was a super slim, but whatever. But I had that for a while. Then my uncle came over and decided to give me his PlayStation 3. So now I have the original big PlayStation 3 here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the original model that he bought when it first came out back in 2007? 2008?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. But I have that one, and I play Persona 3 and Persona 4, the PS2 versions on there. And those games are just amazing the way that they are. And like I said about Persona 3, I don't know how I'm going to get into it. I like the music though.
Oh yeah, the music's usually good in Persona.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm over here stealing your thunder. Go ahead.
Number 10, Cyberpunk 2077. Number 9, Metal Gear Solid 5. Number 8, Payday 2. Number 7, I actually really enjoyed this game. It was Remnant from the Ashes. It's like an RPG. It's a really unique game. It kind of took some of the mechanics from like Division and just made it so much more better, in my opinion. But Remnant from the Ashes, it's really good. I always get Rogue Light and Rogue Like confused, but it's definitely something of that genre. Every time you die, you basically respawn, and I don't think there's any consequences for like dying or anything like that, but you do just kind of like start over and all that stuff. You can actually do a only live once kind of type of run. I believe they call that one hardcore, and I believe whatever gear that you actually do get, you get to keep for any character that you create. So that's a little interesting that they have that share ability. But yeah, Remnant from the Ashes is really good. I also played a what you would call a it's basically it's basically a novel, but it is a video game. It's I forget what you call those, but it's a lot of reading, it's a lot of text, but it is a video game. It's called Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. I actually really enjoyed that game. That one is number 6, and I really enjoyed it. It's very anime, very the graphics is like an anime. It's kind of interesting because I'm so used to like a game be an anime being a manga, then it would turn into a TV show, and then it would turn into a video game. I'm so used to that setup.
Yeah.
Danganronpa
like the Persona.
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah, I watched the Persona animes, and I love that the main character, just talks. I love that because I hate talking.
I know.
I do. It's just like when you do like a let's play of a Persona game, you have to voice the main character.
Essentially,
because,
so
yeah. But the only voice acting in the game is like whether or not they say persona or the persona's name, and like when they're switching personas and all that. And that is basically like when I first watched the Persona 4 anime, I fell in love with it just right from the get-go. And the Persona 5 anime came out. I love that too. Just I didn't get to watch all of it because my sister's Hulu account got stopped.
Well, that sucks.
My sister had Hulu, and I was watching Persona 5, and the account stopped. So.
But anyway, Trigger Happy Havoc, Danganronpa. What's kind of interesting about it is the original form of Trigger Happy Havoc of Danganronpa is actually the video game. The video game came first.
Ooh.
And then they did I don't know if the manga came next and then the TV show, but the game actually came first. And I actually, if anyone's gonna search this out, you can watch the TV show, but I honestly do prefer the video game. The video game has a little bit more detail that is left out, and there's definitely moments in the game that is like exactly what you would come across in like Persona, exactly like what you would come across in, say, Yakuza, another game that I'm used to. There's definitely
I need to get
like
into Yakuza though.
yeah, Yakuza's really good.
Yeah, I want to play Yakuza Like a Dragon. That's the one I want to play. It looks really good when you're playing it though. So
yeah, it's the only game out of the series that is turn-based, so definitely anyone that's into Persona would definitely love Yakuza Like a Dragon for sure. I know a friend of the channel, his name is Andy, and he always stops by whenever I do Yakuza or Persona games, and he definitely he saw this. I believe he actually saw it before I did. It really is like Yakuza just done in a Persona fashion with dungeons and everything like that. So, but anyway, and Danganronpa, like there's definitely things that's in the game that is left out in the TV show. The TV show does cover a lot, but it doesn't cover everything. And whenever you do come across a big moment, there's definitely time to let the moment just kind of like sink in instead of just show this epic moment and then just move on. So with Trigger Happy Havoc, because it is a novel, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on it, but anyway, it's really good. I really like it. I believe there's like 4 out of the series, I think, and I just played the first one, so I'm very curious to see what the other ones are like. I thought I heard the last one's actually not that great, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc, that's my number 6. Number 5, I gotta go with Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas in particular.
oh, I love that game.
It's a classic. It's just a classic. It's so good.
I played that game on the PS2 like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My dad found a PS2 version of it in a dumpster.
What?
And it still works. Yeah.
Holy shit.
My dad found GTA San Andreas in the dumpster, and I played it, and then my mom gets upset because I hear the N-word.
Yeah.
So that game was taken away from me for a little bit, but then I snuck in and stole it back. But I do love San Andreas. That is one game that I never regret playing. I'll say that right now.
It is
and
just
I bought it
fun.
I bought it on the PlayStation 4. So
yeah,
I played it on the channel.
I remember playing that game years ago on the PlayStation 2. I know it's a game that my parents didn't like, but it was just a game that I just freaking love. I love the entire series. To this day, I even remember I even remember playing Grand Theft Auto 3, and it was the first game out of the series that was like really, really big. It really changed everything because I even played Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2, and even like London 1969, and all of those games, they were a top-down perspective. So if you ever played a game like Hotline Miami, that's kind of like an idea of like the way the graphics looked. And with GTA 3, it was the first time they did a third-person perspective, open world, and I just really enjoyed it. And to this day, I still remember playing with friends, and we had a rule to where it was like, if you die 3 times, pass the controller. and we just went around the room, and I still remember that. And so yeah, go ahead.
When I heard about GTA 3, I learned that the main character was supposed to have a voice, actually.
I think there was, but
there was going to be then, but it was a lot of work to put it in. So there was a beta of GTA 3 that somebody found, and the character going up to a car saying, "Get out of the car." So either the people that made GTA 3 didn't think that it was necessary to have a voice, but they decided to put it in the beta. But who knows what would happen if the main character actually had a voice in this one.
Right.
That would have been nice, though.
It definitely would. It would have definitely changed things. And hell, even when you just play the original base version of it, like there is, like, I remember a friend of mine pointing it out, like in like the GTA 5 online version, like your character does not say anything. Your online character does not say anything, even when taking damage. There's
unless
just
you
nothing.
put in a mic.
Unless you put in a mic. But
if you
go
put in
ahead.
a mic, you can talk.
Mm-hmm.
If you put in a mic on the game, your character's mouth starts to move in GTA Online.
Yeah, there's a
while
lip
you're
sync
talking.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're talking, their mouth moves.
Yeah, that was.
So I thought that was a.
Yeah,
I thought that was really nice.
Oh yeah. That's exactly what I thought when I first saw it, because I'm just so used to that old school style to where sometimes characters' mouths just won't move, but the fact that when you talk, your character actually they're trying to like sync up the lips and everything. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah, I remember playing GTA 5 on the PlayStation, on the PlayStation 3, and I had a mic. So I got on GTA Online, I started talking, and then out of nowhere, I hear someone, "Dude, shut up." I'm like, "What?" And then I realized my mic is on. I was talking the entire time, and I did not even realize it. I thought I just put in the headphones just to listen. But no, I set up the headphones to talk, apparently. And I was over here yelling on the microphone, "Give me the money now!" and I was telling that to a cashier in the game, because when in GTA Online you can steal money from stores.
Yeah, they actually speed up quicker if you do talk through a mic or shoot at them.
Yeah, and I was talking through a mic, and I realized this dude can hear me. I'm like, oh my god, what did I do? I thought I set it up I thought I was on my own server, because you can do that.
Yeah, you can.
But I didn't apparently hit it. I just apparently hit GTA Online, and I was immediately launched into a game. So now when I go into a game, I make sure that my mic is turned off.
Which is always a good idea.
Yeah. Especially when I use my mic to talk on my live streams on the PlayStation 4.
But yeah, GTA San Andreas, classic game. I love the entire series.
I love it.
It's so good.
Loved it.
And yeah, it's just a classic game, and I just absolutely love it. I do want to say, specifically San Andreas, every game that the Grand Theft Auto series ever does, they have to copy what San Andreas did, because it was the first game where you could customize anything. customize your car, your character. There was even an RPG aspect to where your character has stats. CJ actually had stats to where you could actually boost.
And you can you can either make him fat, skinny, or muscly.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I love. I always used to cheat to make him muscular. Always. Just because I thought it was cool.
It was both the thing I loved and also hated, because god damn, he gets hungry so quick. And right? It was the one thing I hated, because I constantly had to find a freaking shop to go like get something to eat. It's like, god damn. I
always went to Cluck and Bell.
Oh, Cluck and Bell's the best. Cluck and Bell's the... You'll be lucky to find a feather.
Thank you for shopping with us at Cluck and Bell. Cluckety cluck. Is this what you want, sir?
Oh my god.
Just cycling through all of the meals, he'll say something different. Is this what you want, sir? Thank you for shopping with us if you buy it. And then, oh my god, my brother would always have CJ shirtless. I have no idea why. So he'd always have CJ muscular shirtless with green pants. That's what my brother would put on him.
But yeah, it's just so good. I to some degree, I both hate and love that aspect. So I thought it was definitely unique at the time, but having to always eat all the time was a pain in the ass.
Dude, I remember playing GTA 4, and then Nico would be like, "I need to get some food." I'm like, "What? Food? I don't even see a food bar."
I know.
I did not see a stat for food. And then apparently, if your health is down, that is your food bar.
Basically, yeah.
And honestly, it was so stupid.
Yeah, it can be. I forget
just playing GTA 4 like that, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
I hated
it. I did.
I forget who said it, but I remember someone that I met through streaming said it, and I mean, it is just perfect. Guys, where's the candy bar? I need to stick it in one of my bullet holes.
Oh, do you remember the famous line when, what was it? It was, when Big Smoke went to Cluckenbell with the group, and he says, "I'll have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large, a number 6 with extra dip, 2 number 45s, 1 with cheese, and a large soda." And then they all just look at him. I love that part. And then, and then my other favorite line from that game is, "All you had to do was follow the damn train, CJ." That is also the most famous line from that game as well.
Oh yeah, there's a bundle of memes if you play that game. There's so many like.
Apparently, there's a thing on GTA 5 on the next gen consoles in computer. If you go into somewhere around, it was on one of the highways, like when you're going to Sandy Shores.
Right.
On that highway, there's codes, and apparently one of those codes translated into letters. All you had to do was follow the damn train, CJ.
No way. I actually did not know that.
Yeah, one of those codes actually says that. I forget what the other code says, but that's the one I remember the most because it's the most iconic line out of GTA San Andreas.
Yeah.
But if you actually search up codes on the highway, or actually no, secret Easter eggs on the highway on GTA 5, you will see those codes if you type that in on on YouTube.
I don't know why, but
I was
yeah, go ahead.
flipping my shit. I was flipping my shit when I heard that line translate into that.
I honestly, that's actually one of the things I really do love about Rockstar, and how they just kind of have like little Easter eggs, but you almost kind of have to like find the Easter eggs, because like one of the more interesting stories, and part of me wants this to be true, but sadly we can't necessarily confirm it or not. But it's not on my list, but it is a game I played and I do like it. Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption 2. There's a character called Uncle. Apparently there's a theory. Yeah. Apparently there's a theory going around that Uncle is actually Red from the original Red Dead revolver. And
he could be.
I so want that to be true. And it's the reason why.
Be.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just saying he could be, just because of, I heard everything about Red Dead Revolver and everything, and it's actually a viable game on the PlayStation 4. So if we can buy Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 on the PlayStation 3 and 4, well, not Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PlayStation 3, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can buy Red Dead Revolver on the PlayStation 4, there has to be some sort of connection. I would hope, at least. They bought the rights to have Red Dead Revolver, did they? Rockstar?
I don't know.
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure. Honestly, I didn't expect to see Red in any of the Red Dead Redemptions. I'll say that right now. I did not expect it. But if he could be an old man at that point. So, which means he could be Uncle.
Mm-hmm.
He could be. But we don't know that for sure.
Yeah. And I actually seen a video to where they actually, it's one of those things, you have to hunt down like his lines that he says, you have to hunt down just various different things. Like one of the things they point out is Red always wears a red handkerchief around his neck. And in Red Dead Redemption
Uncle
2,
do that?
Yeah, Red from Red Dead Revolver wears a handkerchief around his neck. And
doesn't Uncle wear a red handkerchief?
Apparently Uncle has a red handkerchief somewhere on his character at all times, and in the picture that I saw, he has a red handkerchief that hangs, like, it's in his back pocket, and it hangs off the side, like it's just a rag that he would have in his back pocket, and he would just, like, wipe his hands off and that sort of thing. But in the one that I saw, he has it, like, hanging down, like, on his, like, belt or something, or, like, a back pocket. And, like, that's like one bit that he kind of has like a red handkerchief. So is that the same one that he would wear around his neck when he was younger? The other thing was, so apparently if you know the story of Red, his parents was killed when he was a kid. Apparently, Uncle's parents was killed when he was young as well. And then the final thing is, also when his parents was killed, Red tried to go for a gun that was in a fire. And he tried to pick it up, and he severely burned himself. And I think he even killed the perpetrators.
Feels bad.
And so, like, he burned
Honestly,
his hand.
This could be true.
And pretty much with Red, they believe that there is some burn marks that is shown on his hand, but it's only through certain, like, images and stuff. So it's all circumstantial, but it's something that is so interesting, I kind of want it to be true, kind of type of thing. Because it's just interesting.
Uncle has a little bit of a if Uncle has a little bit of burning on his hand, maybe that could indicate that he is red.
And that's the thing, like there's evidence to show that there is, but it's also a case of the timeline with red technically is kind of unknown because it could I think there's like a 30-year gap of when it could have taken place. And so basically the timeline has to line up with like when specifically Red Dead Revolver took place and like when Red Dead Redemption took place, and you just kind of have to like line up those timelines kind of type of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway,
who knows if that's actually true? But if Rockstar confirms that, there probably might be a possibility that he could be red.
Very possible.
But who knows?
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time since anyone's actually heard of red.
That is true.
But you want to continue?
Sure. So anyway, Cyberpunk, Metal Gear Solid 5, Payday 2, Remnant from the Ashes, Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc, Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas. I also went with Mafia 1, the OG from 2002. And then I also went with Persona 4 Golden. Yakuza 0 is one of my favorite games I've ever played of all time. It's one of my favorites. But there's only one that could beat Yakuza 0, and that is Max Payne 3. I love the online. I love that. It's just so good.
Max Payne. I forgot about that character. How did I forget about him?
I absolutely love it.
How did I forget about him, though? That character is like, isn't he iconic?
It's funny. Some people, like, for example, Dark Fox, who I do a podcast with, he doesn't know about Max Payne. But yet there's another friend I know who doesn't stream, and he is a mod in my channel, but he kind of, ever since the pandemic, he kind of has been doing his own thing. And, like, he loves Max Payne. And it's like, Max Payne, it's really a case of, like, there's, like, an underground, but yet almost, like, not like an underground. It's popular in some areas, and some people just, like, never played the game or never heard of, like, the Max Payne story, and it's so good. And I love the entire series. It is just great. Max Payne 3 in particular, I really love it for the online, but if you want to hear some of the best storytelling, Max Payne 1 and 2 is just utter classics. It is so good. Sam Lake knows how to tell a freaking good story. Yeah, it's, oh my god, I love Max Payne so much. 3 is still good overall, like, even with the story, but it's one of those things to where I think I tried to explain it as if they were to go that route, that is the way they would do it, but he really should have stayed in Jersey, I kind of feel, but that's just me.
I couldn't hear you for a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of talking going on, so I almost kind of feel like we need to wrap things up, personally.
Yeah, but I was actually I was trying to tell you that I couldn't hear you, so I decided just to end the call real quick and then rejoin, and then I could hear you. So something's definitely going on with that.
I had no idea. I thought everything was good. Is everything fine now?
Yeah, I can hear you fine now.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it's Max Payne is such a good game. I absolutely love it. And that is my entire list of games that I played in 2020.
Nice. Well, we've been recording the next half for 34 minutes. Do you want to continue?
I think we're kind of good. I think we did everything that we wanted to, unless there's something that I missed.
Do you want to continue what we were talking about with Cyberpunk?
Oh, sure. If you want to talk about Cyberpunk.
No, well, you were saying stuff, and I asked if we could take a break, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you want to talk about that, I'm good.
All right, well, let's finish that conversation.
Okay.
So where were we at that part?
Basically, the game is virtually unplayable for consoles, but mostly high-tier PCs, it's better, but still needs some work. I heard... Now, to be fair, I don't know... The thing about it is, it sounds like there is content missing, and I don't know if that's supposed to come from the DLC content, or if that was supposed to be in the base game all along. One way or another, I thought I heard there is supposed to be content in the game that is missing, so I don't know what content that is, but it's something I heard. I, for one, did not follow every bit of when it was developed and how it was being developed, because there was definitely a lot of like inside scoop kind of type of stuff with the game, and so I haven't been following all of that. I kind of more so recently been discovering some of the stuff that CDPR has been saying, and so basically it's completely unplayable with consoles, but better with high-tier PCs. And yeah, Sony took it off the PlayStation Store, according to what they say. We will bring it back until further notice. So essentially they need to see something that shows that there is proper development being done in order for them to decide to actually bring it back. So to the PlayStation Store. So that's what I've heard, and I only hope it just gets better. But time will only tell, I guess.
Well, yeah, that's true. Honestly, I have no idea what to say about Cyberpunk. All that, I was looking forward to it, and I can't even play it. That is what really sucked.
Yeah, and it does.
All right. So is there anything else to talk about?
No. I know I'm good. So.
All right. So I'm guessing we're ending the podcast now.
All right. Sounds good by me.
So if you guys did enjoy this podcast, please let us know down in the comment section below if you want us to continue. Because honestly, I would love to continue this. This is something that I did not expect to like. It's surprisingly fun to just sit back and talk about something other than life, basically. So if you guys did enjoy, if you guys liked it, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you guys are new, hit the notification bell to get notified when I upload videos. And go down in the description box below and see Liv and Froggy Daddy. And I'll see you guys maybe in the next podcast or the next video. Bye-bye.